It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel fine. Let's get out of here. Aye. Looking to support this ministry? Donation links are always in the description box below. Hey everyone, it's Brother Aaron from God a Minute, who is the male child in Revelation 12. This channel is all about waiting and getting excited about the return of Jesus, the rapture of the church. We believe the rapture of the church happens before the 7 years of Jacob's trouble. And so this is an important question. If we really have confidence in who the male child is and recognize that, then we can be more excited about this rapture before this tribulation. And so we're going to talk about that. A verse that's worth bringing up is Matthew 13. Let me pull it up for you and show you in my Bible. My apologies about the lighting. It's a little dark here. I tried to get some good light on my Bible and my pictures that I drew. I'm not an artist, but pictures are really good for most of us. And the disciples came and said, this is Matthew 13, verse 10. Why do you speak to them in parables? And he answered and said to them, because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it has not been given. So he wants to give the children of God knowledge and understanding of the mysteries of the kingdom, but he wants to hide it from the enemy too. He doesn't want the enemy to know. So we've got this book of Revelation, and it's kind of complicated, isn't it? He doesn't say things very plainly. We've got to search things out. So here's my pictures. I'm not a great artist, like I said, but we have to really ask this question. Is Revelation 12 figurative or is it literal? Is it figurative or is it literal? Is it figurative or is it literal? And in our brains, we have to recognize that Revelation 12 it's lots of imagery. It's not literal. There's a lot of things that John is seeing, but it's not literal. And we're going to go through and explain that, and we're going to use Bible verses to explain what John is seeing in Revelation 12 is not literal. He's not seeing a dragon literally with 7 heads. He's not literally seeing a woman. Not literally. He's not literally seeing, a child. He's not literally seeing a lamb. He's not literally seeing water. I mean, he is seeing this in terms of the image or this almost like an animation, almost like a cartoon movie in front of him. That's what he's seeing, but that's not literally what we're going to see, if that makes sense. So you got to think of Revelation 12 as very figurative. And if we can't, I don't think we can bounce back and forth from figurative to literal depending on what we feel like in the moment. And so this is really going to explain some things and I think clear some things up, hopefully. Anyway, that's my intention. Always double check everything I say. I'm just a brother in Christ trying to figure this out just like the rest of us. But I think what we have here is a really, in my opinion, a clear understanding of what it is. So we're going to start here with the woman, because that's the first thing we see in Revelation 12. And so we see 12 stars above her head. We see a woman, and we see the sun, and we see the moon. And again, this is not literal. So we're not literally seeing a woman with sun and moon and 12 stars. So what is Jesus trying to reveal to us but hide from the enemy? What's he trying to say to us? Well, let's read some Bible verses. So first of all, we see a woman. And in Isaiah 26, verse 17, it says, as a woman with child is in pain and cries out in her pains when she draws near the time of her delivery, so have we been in your sight, O Lord. So there's so many verses about a woman in travail. We can read like tons of them. We're not going to read all sorts of them. I just want to give you a flavor. And I'm assuming you've read Revelation 12 yourself up until this point, so you're familiar with it. I have held my peace a long time. I have been still and restrained myself. Now I will cry like a woman in labor. There's lots of those verses. There's Jeremiah chapter 30. This is a pretty popular one for Jacob's trouble. And he equates it to this similar theme here. Jeremiah 36 and 7. Whether a man is ever in labor with child, right? So why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor? Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is like the time of Jacob's trouble. So we've got this woman in labor theme. We've got it in Micah 4, verse 9 through 11. And it's even in the words of Christ. We've got that. Let's pull up the Greek version, just so you can see. The Greek versions will say it's the beginning of birth pains. That's Matthew 24, verse 8. So Jesus even says it's like birth pains. It's like a woman giving birth to a child. All right, so that's my Greek interlinear ESV New Testament Bible, but Jesus said it's going to be like birth pains, and I just read you some Old Testament scriptures that it's going to be like a woman in travail. So John is not really literally seeing a woman in travail. He's just seeing he is seeing a woman in travail, but not literally. Okay, so there's a symbol. So, and in Galatians 4, verse 26, it says, what does it say about the woman? Well, it says, I'm just pulling it up here, that Jerusalem above is free, which is the mother of us all. So Jerusalem is the mother of us all, according to Galatians 4, verse 26. So Jerusalem, or Israel, Jerusalem, you got to get that in your mind, okay? So the Bible is telling us that it's going to be like a woman in travail. Jacob is going to be the center of this whole thing, and Jerusalem is our mother. Okay, so there's 12 stars above her head. Notice how there's not 13 stars. Notice how there's not 11 stars. There's not 10 stars. There's 12 stars. I'm assuming, I'm talking to the people that know a little bit of the Bible. I'm assuming that you know that there are 12 tribes of Israel. And so there's 12 stars above her head. I think that those 12 stars represents the 12 stars of Israel because the woman represents Jacob. And we're also going to go to Genesis 37. I think this is a really important thing for us to do because, again, the Bible interprets the Bible. We don't really need to go outside of the Bible to really interpret it. We should be able to interpret everything within the Bible. And so what does Joseph dream? This is Joseph's dream, and again, I'm assuming you're familiar with a lot of this stuff, okay? If you're not, read the entire book of Genesis, or the entire chapter of Genesis 37. But what does Joseph dream? Then he dreamed still another dream and told it to his brothers and said, "Look, I have dreamed another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowed down to me." Okay, the 11 stars. So the brothers are the stars. You see that? The brothers are the stars. And Joseph is the 12th star, but his brothers were equated as stars. All right. So he told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I and your brothers indeed come to bow down to the earth before you?" Wait a second. So his brothers are the stars. So that means the sun and the moon are represented. But Jacob clarified for us what the sun and the moon represents. What did he say again? He said, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother, the moon, and I, the sun, and your brothers, the 11 stars, right, come down to bow down to the earth before you?" Wow. Look at this picture. This is Genesis 37, verse 9 and 10. So the sun represents Jacob. The moon represents Rachel, who was Joseph's mom. And the 11 stars represents the other tribes of Israel. Well, how about that Bible interpreting the Bible? So when we go over here, and the woman is clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and with 12 stars above her head. Notice it's 12 stars, nothing else. And the woman represents Israel in giving birth to a child. Now, we see in Revelation 12 what's going on using the whole Bible. The sun and the moon, Jacob, Rachel, the woman, Israel, Jerusalem, 12 stars, 12 tribes of Israel. Now we know what Revelation 12 is talking about. Israel is in travail. Jerusalem is in travail. That's what that is. So I propose that is the biblical interpretation of Revelation 12. So what I'm saying is, I think as a community, how do I say this? I don't think that it is a constellation that was made up by a Greek guy in the 2nd century. I don't think this is Virgo. I think it's the Bible, explaining the Bible. I think that the woman represents Israel, Jerusalem, because also as we read the rest of Revelation 12, this woman's going to pop up again more and more, and she's going to flee to the wilderness. So again, going back to this literal versus figurative, you can't call it a star constellation and then a couple of verses later call it Jerusalem. That doesn't make any sense. So in Revelation 12, we see that we all agree. I mean, I don't even know if anybody has any other agreement other than the woman is brought to the wilderness for 1,260 days. Let's go right here. Verse 6, then the woman fled into the wilderness. Well, we can't call it our star constellation here and then call it, oh yeah, it's Jerusalem over here. Okay, so which one is it? Clearly, it's Jerusalem. It's Israel. Clearly, because we already know that. We already know Israel is brought to the wilderness for 3.5 years in the second half. That's like definitive. I don't even know if I've ever heard anybody say anything else. So again, we can't just call this a constellation that a Greek guy made up in the 2nd century, and then all of a sudden a couple verses later just change your mind and call it something else. So I don't think this is a constellation. I think we unfortunately have been looking at this in the wrong way, because again, we were taking it somewhat literally. But we got to look at it as a figurative thing. Once you look at it figuratively and you use the Bible to explain it, then it makes sense. But this is going to help us understand the male child. Okay, so we've got that. Hopefully I didn't get anybody upset with that, because that's a hard pill to swallow. Realizing, oh no, darn it wasn't a constellation. Okay, all right, what's next? All right, so we're going to move on. And again, study for yourself. Don't get mad at me. If you have a disagreement, please don't call me names. Man, I don't want to delete comments again. Be nice to me, okay? I'm just a brother in Christ. Okay, so here is the dragon that is trying to devour the male child. And it's got 7 heads, but it's not literal. It doesn't literally, there's not going to be a dragon with 7 heads flying around with 10 horns on it. That's not literally what's going to happen. It's a representation of something else. And I did a video on this recently. But we've got Daniel chapter 2, Daniel 7, Revelation 12, Revelation 13, Revelation 17, 9 through 10. We can see that the 7 heads represent 7 kingdoms. Now, every kingdom needs a king, but there's many kings within these kingdoms. So the 7 heads represent kingdoms. Notice in Revelation 12, it's got 7 crowns. So the 7 crowns are on the 7 heads, which means the kingdoms have already been in place. I'm just going to go ahead and call it the 7th head, the USA, but I can be swayed in like 4 different directions. But for now, I'll just write USA for this video, because every nation compares themselves to the US dollar. And I think USA's got to be kind of taken out of the way in order for this Antichrist system to be implemented. That's up for conjecture for me. Okay, I don't hold this extremely strong, but I do think USA, this whole design, world design has to be crushed, and it seems like USA has to be the kind of one of the center points to be kind of taken out of the way for that. Again, that's up for debate, but the biggest thing is it's 7 kingdoms, and then there's 10 horns on this dragon that it's coming. But this 7 kingdoms have crowns, diadems on their head. So that's coming after the male child. Okay, so the male child, I'm suggesting, is the raptured group. Why is it the raptured group and not Jesus? Because people have an argument that it's Jesus, but okay, Revelation was written many years after Jesus, first of all. Revelation is not prophecy of past things that already happened. That's not prophecy. So that doesn't make any sense. Yes, Jesus, they tried to kill him as a baby, but was he brought up to the throne as a male child? No, he didn't go to heaven as a male child, no. And so that doesn't make sense. And also, to say that it's the male child, you have to take everything else literal. If you're going to say that this is Jesus, then you have to say that this is literally a 7-headed dragon going to be flying around, and then you got to actually say literally that there's going to be actually a woman flying around in the sky, only an individual woman flying around in the sky with the sun and the moon. Like, that makes no sense. So if you're taking the male child literally, then you got to take everything else literally, and then this doesn't work. Let me. I skipped the angels. I'll get back to that in a second. I just think that angels represent stars because Revelation 1:20. Let me read that first, actually. And because we've got good angels and bad angels, right? So if good angels in Revelation 1:20 represent stars, how about the bad angels? So here it goes. Revelation 1:20. The mystery of the 7 stars, which you saw in my right hand, and the 7 golden lampstands, the 7 stars are the angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 lampstands, which you saw, are the 7 churches. So if the stars can be good angels, then the stars can be bad angels. So if you read Revelation 12 with that kind of mindset that the angels are stars, well, it starts to make sense because over here it says that the angels are cast out with the dragon, that kind of thing. So, but let's get to the male child, because that's really the theme of this whole thing. And again, the stars are likely just figurative, in that context. So we've got this child, which we can't take literally. It's a symbol of something else. So Revelation 2, verse 27, people say, well, Jesus is the only one that's going to rule with an rod of iron. Well, not so fast. Not so fast, cowboy. This is to the church. This is to the church. This is to the corrupt church. A letter to the corrupt church. See, if these churches repent and they overcome, they're given rewards. And man, this church, it says this, Revelation 2, verse 26, and he who overcomes and keeps my works until the end, to him I will give power over the nations. Wow. Okay, here we go. He shall rule them with a rod of iron. They shall be dashed to pieces like the potter's vessels. Wow. As I also have received from my Father, and I will give him the morning star. Okay, wow. Whoa, everybody. This is it. This is the game changer moment for this. So he's saying, he shall rule with a rod of iron. They shall be dashed to pieces like the potter's vessel, as I also have received from my Father. So this is Jesus talking. So Jesus is clearly saying that he's going to be ruling with a rod of iron, but he's going to be giving it to the church. I will give power over the nations. All right? So he who overcomes, I will give power over the nations. Okay? You guys will rule with a rod of iron, as I also have received from my Father. You guys will rule with a rod of iron, and I also will rule with a rod of iron. So it's not just one person here. So the context of Revelation 17, not taking it literally, we will also rule with a rod of iron. The other text that I wanted to show, and I mean, this Revelation 2:27 is a slam dunk, but let's just continue on. What's the overcomer situation over here? Revelation 3:21, to him who overcomes, I will grant to sit with me on my throne. Are you kidding me? What a gift to sit with me on my throne. Wow. We're going to sit on the throne with him? Wait a second. As I also overcame and sat down with my Father. Whoa. On his throne? Whoa. So we're going to sit with Jesus on his throne as he sat with his Father on his throne. Whoa. So we're also going to sit on the throne with him, the Bible says. Are you kidding me? Wow. Slam dunk. Slam dunk. So we're with him. Revelation 1:6. And he has made us kings and priests to his God and Father. So we're kings. We're also going to be ruling, right? And there's tons of verses. There's way more verses. I'm like, okay, I don't want to make this video too long, but I'll just throw in one more. Excuse me. 2 Timothy 2:12. If we endure, we shall also reign with him. Okay, there you go. We're going to reign with him. All and the rest of it. So there's that. And of course, the lamb is mentioned in this chapter. Is it literally a lamb walking around? No, it's not literally a lamb. It's Jesus. There's the lamb reference. And then we have also a reference of the brethren or the inhabitants or the offspring. See, the dragon's going to go after the offspring. Well, that's a different group. And then we've got this reference of water. The dragon's going to spew water at the woman, but she's going to be protected. Well, it's not literally water. Revelation 17:15 tells us water means peoples, multitudes, nations, and tongues. So that means there's going to be war. There's going to be craziness going on. So here's the summary of it all. Here's the summary. I'll zoom out a bit here and I'll point that stuff. Hopefully this picture is still okay for you. You can still see things. Okay. So I'm suggesting that Revelation 12, we can't take it literally. We have to take it figuratively because that's really what's going on here. Okay. So we have, I'll zoom in, I suppose. We got a woman, but it's not literally a woman. We got the sun and moon, but it's not literally the sun and the moon. We got a dragon, but it's not really literally a dragon. We got a dragon with 7 heads, but it's not literally 7 heads. We got a dragon with 7 crowns, but it's not literally crowns. It's figurative. We got 1/3 of the stars, but I think the stars means angels. We got a male child, but I don't think it's literally a male child. I think it's the raptured group. We have a lamb that's mentioned, but I don't think it's literally a lamb. It's Jesus. We got all this brethren and inhabitants of the offspring. I think that that's the people, that's the tribulation saints that are having to die for their faith. We got water mentioned going after the women, but that's not literally water. We also have wings. The woman is given wings to fly like an eagle to the wilderness. But again, not literal. Okay, not literal. It's just an example of her being saved out of it all. So when you look at this whole picture of figurativeness, what we see is this is not literally Jesus. Because again, if you're going to call this literally Jesus, then you got to say everything else is literal. You got to say literally there's going to be a lamb walking around. No. There's literally going to be a dragon with 7 heads. No, that's not. There's literally going to be a woman flying. No, that's not what's going on. It's not literal. Therefore, the male child is not literal. You can't just pick and choose whatever you want for being literal and figurative. And in this context of this chapter, it makes the most sense that it is figurative. So, at the end of the day, this means that we can have a lot of confidence on the church or the raptured group or however you want to call it, the bride, or, there's so many different titles you can give this, but I'm just going to call it the raptured group. I'd say that the male child is the raptured group. So I think this is a really cool way to look at it and study it. And I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings that I don't think this is the Virgo constellation anymore. You can still hold on to that. Don't get mad at me, please. Please, seriously, don't get mad at me. And I appreciate when people watch the whole video before they comment. So if you've watched it this far, I pray that you say salt and pepper in your comments. The code word is salt and pepper if you've made it this far. And I'll appreciate your comment more. And guys, at the end of the day, this stuff is secondary to understanding that Jesus paid your debt, okay? Jesus paid your debt. Jesus died for your sins. Romans 10:9-13. Confess with your mouth, believe in your heart. Time is short, guys. We got a lot of things to say and study. Let's mature in our faith, mature in our walk, and learn all these little things and glean, and so that when we're there on Rapture Day, whenever that is, we can say, okay, I think I understand like 5% of your story, Jesus, and let me try and explain to you what I think it is. And I think it'd be cool if he said, you know what, you're right. You figured it out. And on top of that, you loved people while you studied. That's the best combination we can present to God. I think the best combination is loving each other while we wait and studying to show ourselves approved. That's the best combination I can think of. Okay, guys, we're one day closer. Go Jesus, go. Adios, muchacho.